Hey guys, we're back with another video. In this one, what I'm going to be showing you is a nifty little bit of logic that we've set up with electricity that controls some automatic lighting down this hallway here. And I'm just going to show you what it all does first, and then I'll take you upstairs and show you what's actually happening, and then we'll actually build one on our own. So if you look here, you can see the light is on there. When we come into this room, that light switches on. We come into this room, that light switches on, then we come into this room, and that light switches on. Then we go outside, and then the outside light is on. Now, you can also notice that as you go through, the lights switch off as you exit the room. So the light is only ever on in the room that you're in. And I'll just show you the outside ones. Outside light is off. And then if I walk through this door, then it's back on again. So let's take a look really quick at sort of what's happening here. Obviously, we got our lights. That's the main thing that we're sort of the end of it. That's the end of the line. That's what we want to operate, is some lights. There is some extra power outputting from these that I could operate more stuff, and this is where you can get a little bit creative, but we're just terminating at a light. And our triggers are these laser detectors here. And we've got a laser detector on the outside here, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, and inside. And what I've done is I've kind of labeled these as 3 different zones, and it's important to sort of remember this a little bit later on. So this left one, that first light right there, that's right in front of me, that's the first zone. That's the second zone, and that's the third zone. Rather, zone 1, 2, and 3. And then outside, anywhere outside, so if you cross over from out there, or if you cross over from out here, that's zone 0. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. And the reason why that's going to become important is because we're actually going to be using some binary logic to control the stuff here. Now, this isn't the most efficient setup for this exact type of functionality. I mean, you really could just set up some batteries and laser sights and not use any sort of logic here to operate it. But I wanted to do this as an exercise to see how we could take what is essentially a memory cell, which is a 1-bit system, and turn it into a 2-bit system. Okay? So I'll give you a breakdown really quick of the different sections here that control everything. First of all, there's our power. It's really, really simple power. I'm going to do my best to count everything. This one does get a little bit more complicated, but there are some numbers that will show you that split off that are the important ones, and then there's a bunch of leftover power. But there is 100 power going out here, and this goes into this E branch right here, electrical branch, and splits off evenly to each of these memory controllers. Okay, and then what we're going to do is just follow the power around. Now we got the 2 triggers on the side and the 2 triggers on the side here, and those are set up to receive a pulse of energy from those laser detectors. So when we cross a laser detector, eventually what happens is a pulse goes into one of these 2. Actually, that pulse goes into one of these 2 and one of these 2 at the same time, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And then, depending on what which one of these ones was activated, which one of these 2 triggers was activated, the power will go out to one of these, so either the inverted output or the regular output. So power we'll just follow it out from here. Power will go out to here and then into this electrical branch, which then pushes a different amount of power to these different AND boxes. And this is sort of where the logic really is set up for a 4-bit controller. So depending on the configuration of these 2-bit controllers, only one of these AND controllers can work. So it's got 2 inputs, and the input must be flowing into it. 2 inputs rather must be flowing into it in order for it to work. and then it will go out to this electrical branch. So what's coming off of the branch here is, sorry, what's coming off of the main power out is just powering your stuff. So that's all the stuff is going to be powered. So in this case, the light, and then all the excess power is just dumping into that light. And then the branch is set specifically to then carry on to a second branch, which is part of our going down to our laser sights. So main power out here goes to the lights. This goes to our lasers, and this splits up so we can have two lasers on the same power configuration. So now with those zones, we did have two lasers in every single room, and then a laser on the outside on one side, laser on the outside on the other side. If you were only using one laser trigger, you could get rid of these four. You wouldn't actually need this section right here. But I wanted two lasers, and I wanted that to trigger. So basically, we're taking that line of power, splitting it down the two lasers, so either one of them can trigger, and then on the other side, that will come back into the system. So it goes down through the laser, and then it comes back, depending on which one you trip, will come back into these NOT OR boxes. And we're using the NOT OR boxes because they don't cost anything to run. It comes back into here, and then it has to be split again, but this time that has to be split in order to send the correct signal to the triggers. Okay, this is going to make a lot more sense when we actually wire up another instance of this. It's quite confusing to look at it right now, but what we'll do is we'll go through and figure out every single section, and then we'll do some testing. You'll see how this all starts to work. I will point out one extra branch that I've put into here, and the reason why there's an extra branch here is because you'll remember downstairs the zone 0, the outside zone, actually has one and a second light, two lights, and that's what's coming off of that particular branch. All the other zones only have one light, so they didn't need an extra branch in order to run. All right, so that's a basic rundown of what we're going to be building and what we're going to be making. So let's head over to this side here and take a look at all the individual components, and we'll give you a quick count of how much stuff there is of each. So I've used one small generator that's going to output 100, and that is plenty of power for this particular project. I did do a count of this and wrote it all out, and it got fairly complicated counting all the power down, but 100 was more than enough. What I intended to do was string together enough batteries, small batteries, or even use a large battery, or sorry, string together enough solar panels to try to achieve the correct amount, or as close to the correct amount as possible. And what I found was that it was actually kind of close to 100 anyways, and I didn't really want to focus on the power counting in this particular video. I wanted to focus more on the logic. Okay, so that's power. We have, I think, if I've counted this correctly, it's 18 electrical branches. So 4, 8, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yes, 18 electrical branches. We've got 2 memory cells. So those are 1-bit memory cells. And then we've got 4 AND switches. So these are the ones where you have to have power into input A, and you have to have power into input B in order to have power going out. Now it doesn't combine the power, it picks whichever one has more power and pushes that out. Okay, moving over here, we've got 8 NOT OR switches, and they do a separate thing. So we've got a NOT OR switches at the bottom here, and then the NOT OR switches at the top here. And like we said earlier, with these 4 that are in charge of splitting the signal to go to 2 laser detectors, these are what bring them back together. So these 4, if you're only using 4 laser detectors instead of 8, you wouldn't need these 4 here. They wouldn't be required. You could just use the 4 and go directly into your branches here to set up your logic. So that's really all that's happening there. Moving over to our actual functional side, here we have 5 lights. So this first light is going to be zone 0, as well as the very end light. That's also zone 0, so that we're simulating what we made up top. Zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And at the bottom here, we've got 8 laser sights that we will be setting up and connecting in order to control the behavior that we want. Okay, cool. So that's all the components. Let's start wiring it up. We're going to start by connecting our power. So we go down here, and power goes into our first stop is this E branch right here, this electrical branch. And all that we're going to do, we know that it's 100 going in, so we're going to split off 50 to each. Now one side, this side, is actually only going to get 49 because the E branch costs 1 to power. And that 1 comes from the main power outside. This side will get 50. There we go. And then that goes in. Good reminder here with these guys is that they don't cost anything to run. Whatever power you put in is the power that will go out. Okay. This is where we're going to start talking about the logic and start talking about the binary. So a really, really quick lesson in binary. We've got this this binary chart. If you don't know how binary works, this is 8-bit binary. We're only going to be going 2-bit, but it's 8-bit because if you look, there's actually 8 slots going across. Never mind the numbers that are actually in there in that little addition. This is just a picture I found on Google Images, but it does display that there's 8 slots in there. So it is a way of being able to define numbers, any number up to 255 in 8-bit binary, only using 1s and 0s. So on the far right, in the 1 position, if you have a 0 in that very far right one, then and 0s all the way across, then you would virtually have the number 0. If you, sorry, so it should be 256 different digits that you can express with 8-bit binary, because the 0 counts as well. And then if you go all the way over to the right and you have a 1 in there, that's going to be 1. So to express the number 2, all the way over to the right, you'd have 0 in the 1 spot, and you'd have 1 in the 2 spot, indicating that you have 2. So that's kind of how it works. We're not going to get too much into 8-bit binary, but we do want to look at 2-bit binary here. So 2-bit binary is just where we're dealing with those last 2 columns on the right from this here. And the numbers that we can express with 2-bit binary, we can express the number 0, the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3. And so we have 4 different potential outcomes, which matches our 4 zones that we're going to be creating. And if we look at the binary, this is our left-hand digit, this is our right-hand digit. So if we think about this is 0, and that's 1, and that's 0, and that's 1, we can, if we're clever, we can express 4 different setups, and we can trigger those through these 2 sets here. I'm going to throw up another graphic here. That's good to that's good explainer to remember which trigger goes to where. So remember, we got our trigger here. Now, if I push a pulse into there, which one of these becomes active? It's the one on the left. So I always think of, so we look at the trigger, I always think sort of like that, in order to figure out which one is going. So if I trigger the bottom trigger, it's going to push power out to the left node here, the inverted output as they call it. And if I, let me just remove that. If I do this one here, the top trigger, it will push power out to the right node, or just the regular output. Okay. All right, that was sort of a lot of information right there. Now I do have as well that little one there, which is going to define the same thing. We're going to express our binary our four different binaries by left or right, left or right. So to express 0, we need to push power out of this inverted output and this inverted output. That's left, left. To express 1, we need to push power out of this left one and this right one. That's LR, and then RL, and then RR. So those are the four different states. And when we achieve those four different states, we want one of these activated. Okay, so that means that we need to start splitting off our power to these different splitters again. Okay, we'll go across here, up, up. So this is just the first step. This is just basically wiring up the two of them, and then we'll talk a little bit about the logic of what's going to be happening. There we go, and up, 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 there, and there. Okay, so let's wire up our first binary possibility. And the first binary possibility that we have is left, left. So let's say that we've shot some power from here, because it's going to come from here, from the lasers go via here. And we've activated this reset. We've activated this reset. So power is running out of here and power is running out of here. And that represents our 0 position. So we want power to go to here because this represents, this is our 0 zone. That's the one we want active. So 0, 1, 2, 3. We're just going to do them in order. You could mix it up if you want, but that's going to get really confusing. So that's what we're going to do first of all. Now we have to use this branch because we will use this in a second configuration, but we're only going to worry about this one for now. So that means from here, we need this to go up into input A, and then we need this to go up into input A as well. And there we go. So if this was powered and this had power, then power will go up to here. And in this case, they are both set to the left outputs. So that is actually working, and that is pushing out power correctly. What I might do as well is just clear this off really quick, and we're going to look at our second one. So the next one that we need to wire up is zone 1, which is going to be left on this one and right on this one. So what I'm going to do is just get those triggers done correctly. So if I attach that there, that's now switched that memory cell over to the right hand side. And that one's already on the left hand side, so we don't need to change anything with that. So we're just going to power back in. But now we've set our memory cells correctly, we can carry on with what we need to do. All right, so LR for zone 1. So there's zone 1. So we're going to go from L, because this one's out on the left side. L, go across here, and input A. And then R, this one, we're going to take this one here just so we can keep these cables a little bit tidier. Go across and up. There we go. And those are going out there. Did I miss something there with powering this set here? Unless I didn't, no, I configured that. So this is where you do some troubleshooting. Apparently that looks like, oh, yeah, well, of course there's 0 going in, I'm not attached, but that doesn't quite explain why it wasn't really working before. So 49 going in, 0 going out, 49 going out. Oh, don't tell me that I've made a whole graphic and the graphic was wrong. Alright, let's do a little experiment and see if that there changes anything. There we go. No, that hasn't changed anything. So what did I miss here? That's gone out to there. That's going out. That's not going in. That's going in there. Power there, power there. So we need to figure out what's happening with this and why that's not working. So what I'm going to do is just get a battery. Let's go here. And we're going to chuck this on the ground. It's probably good to see some of this troubleshooting stuff so that you can figure out how to troubleshoot. Now this has got a little bit of power in it, so we're just going to see if that does the trick. No, that doesn't. I'm sure someone's watching this going, "Oh, you didn't do this thing right. You're missing it. You're missing something." And back to here. That's the one that's going there. Ah, there we go. Okay, that seems to have done it. So I don't know what was going on there. And I'm really not sure why that wouldn't output properly before, but it's working now. As we can see, that's sending power out there. It's probably got something to do with the trigger and directly attaching. Maybe I just didn't leave it long enough or something. I'm not too sure, but either way, it was actually set up correctly. The graphics are correct, thank goodness. I didn't want to go back and have to do this all again. Okay, so this will get sorted out when we actually have the proper triggers plugged into it. But let's carry on with the next one. So the next one is zone 2. So 0, 1, 2. Next one's zone 2, and that's going to be R on this, L on this. So going out from the R, we're going to take one here, go across, and go up to there. And okay, so that was R on that, and then L on this. So we need L on this one. Here we go. We'll just go up here, and into there. Now we haven't set those triggers. I'm not going to fool around with them and try to make that work because we'll do that later. This is hooked up correctly. Now we can do the last one. This is zone 3, and it's R. So we need the last one here. That's R, and we're going to go out to here and up, and then the last one here, up to here and up. So there's all the wiring done for this particular setup. What we need to do now is we need to have these powers go out to these. So only one of them will ever be active at any given time when you're running something like this. But you still obviously have to have them all connected up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this position 0 to this one here, position 1 to here, 2 and 3, and then that will reverse back when we connect those up, and you'll see what I mean. If we go like this, this. Ooh, I didn't like how that was done. Still like it to be a bit tidy. There, there, and there. I'm going to start from here because I can go straight out and down, and then we'll go with that one straight out, up, over, and down, and then our last one here, go out, up, over, and down. Okay, there we go. So we've got all of our power going out here. And what this section is now, so we've got our first bit of logic, which is going to choose which zone to power. That's what our 4-bit stuff is doing here. What we're going to do next, because this is where we split off and send power to our stuff and send power to our triggers. We're going to branch off for the triggers, and we're going to power out, use the power out for our stuff. Now I already know how much I want to branch off on these ones. Oh, speaking of which, these need to be set to branch off the correct amount, and I just need to check my notes here to make sure I've got the right amount. I believe that it should be 25. It is. Okay, so here we're going to branch off 25, set, and there, 25, set, there, 25. Remember, we went in with 50, so this will split it up kind of by half, and then go around. So then we come around to these, and these ones we need to set. Again, got to check my notes here. We need to branch out at 11 on these ones, and I'll explain why when we get to it. But 11 is all that we need to branch off to make this work. There we go. And 11 and set. Okay, so we're not going to worry about the branch right now. What I want to do is power our stuff. In particular, I want to power our lights here. So remember, this is zone 0, as well as the very end one is also zone 0. Then we have zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And we've reversed the order here with these cables. So that's 0, that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. I'm going to start off with 3 to begin with. And you know what? We can probably go... Oh, it's not... I hate trying to clear these. Oh, wait, I just do that. There we go. All right, we're going to go up to the top here just to make it a bit easier. And we go across to zone 3. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3. And into our input there. And that's where that ends. So that's the end of the line for that branch. All right, next one from our power out and up. And this was zone 2. So 0, 1, 2. So that's here, down, and in. And then zone 1 is this one here. Up and across. Zone 0, zone 1. There we go. And that's the active zone, which we can see here. Zone 0, zone 1 is what's pushing power out, so that's why that light's turned on. And then finally zone 0, and that's going to have 2 lights that we're lighting here. So we need to go out like this, and then down to this branch that I've set up down here, which I set up on that other one because it was going down through the roof. But in this sort of a setup, I probably would have done it up top. But we're here now, so let's just go with this. And we'll go across here with 1 straight up to the top. And we'll make this one the one that goes to the very end. There we go. We're sort of near the top there, so we'll go there, down and in. And then we're going to power up the next one. We'll go up, over, and up. And we'll go at the bottom here. And then across for our very first one, also zone 0. So, we've just made that one and that one at the very end. They'll activate at the same time because they've got power going out. And I'm going to change this one. Actually, I don't even need to change that because there's only 1 power going out, so that's fine. We don't even need to configure that branch. All right, good. So we've got that going now. So our stuff is all plugged in. Next step is going to be splitting the this split off power. Remember, we set these all to 11, so we need to split these off through these electrical branches here. The reason why I chose 11 is because I need 5 on each side, and this electrical branch is going to cost 1. So let's do that, and what we're going to do is invert again. So where that was zone 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 is going to go to 3 here, 2, 1, 0. So we go up and over, down and in. Same thing here. Over and down, and then there, over, up, and that's zone 1 going into our active one, and then finally zone 0 and across and down. Okay, so we've got now our laser light array. Well, our electrical branch is set up to go out to to go out to our lasers. Now we need to use a little bit of logic here to figure out which lasers need to be hooked up to what. So zone 1 is active. This is our zone 1 laser electrical branch. And what do we want to have when we're in zone 1? Which lasers do we want to have turned on? We want the ones that are on the outside of the door. So that one should be on, and that one should be on. The reason being is that if I cross over those ones will switch off, and then these other ones will switch on. So that's why we want to use these outermost ones. And that'll make more sense when we actually start turning these on and you see us moving through these zones. All right, so let's wire those up. And in this case, so remember we've got 11 being branched off. Set. So 11 going over to here, and we need to branch off 5 to each. So we're going to set these at 5. Set. And the branch will consume 1. So that 11 minus 1, and then you get 2 equal sets of 5. There we go. So let's start off with our first branch here for zone 1, just so we can see one that's actually working live. And we'll go sort of across and down. Okay, and this one is going to power, let's see, this one is going to power our first one. So outside of zone 1 needs to be, no, I want it to go up. I want it to look nice. There we go, and then in. Okay, so there's our first laser activated. And then our second laser, go over, around, and down as well, is going to get this one here. Up and in. There we go. Okay, so we've got the correct zone set up here with the lasers that are active. So if this light is on, only those 2 lasers can be on. And then the same thing will be here, except it'll be that one and that one there for zone 2, zone 3. And then when you're outside for zone 4, once you've switched off and gone outside, it's actually this second one and this second one that become active when zone 0 is set up. But we'll go through and just switch these other ones on really quick here. Have them go out. So again, zone 0, zone 1, zone 2. Let's set up zone 2. Up, over, and down. So zone 2, that's zone 2 because we got 0, 1, 2. Zone 2, we need this light and this laser, sorry, this laser and this laser set up. So we'll do, to start, this one and in. Now that won't be powered because there's no power going through zone 2 right at the moment. Up, over, down, and across. 1, 2, 3, and we need the one on the outside. Come on, let's get that just right. There we go. Good. So that's powered correctly. All right, zone 3 is our next one, and then we'll do zone 0. Zone 3 down and across. Zone 3, our first one is going to be this one. It's the one on the outside. No, it's just going to go straight in. All right, and our second zone 3, up, over, down. Second zone 3 is actually the very end one here. And let's get a little closer and power in. Good. Okay, now our final 2 that we need to do are the so there's 8 total lasers, so we need number 2 and number 7 hooked up right now. So number 2 right here, and then number 7. And it's going to be the second last one. All right, there, up, and over. So we've got power into all of our lasers. So what we might want to do is just just demonstrate some of this working. We'll just play around with some of this logic here. Okay, so looking at our little binary chart there, and I'm actually going to take that one off. So our little binary chart there, we're in zone 1. That means we're set up with LR. Let's try zone 2. So we want RL. Actually, no, let's go zone 3 because we only have to change 1 then. So we want RR. So that means that one's already outputting to the right. So we want to activate this one to go out to the right. So remember, that one will go out to the left, that one will go out to the right. So let's change that over and see if that actually worked. Did that push out any power? That's not pushing out power. That is pushing out power. So that actually worked. That's good. Okay. Good. So, and yep, we can see here now, zone 3 is done, and our correct ones, our correct lasers are pointing out. Let's take a look at some of our other indicators. Zone 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 is all lit up. And then going around here, zone 3. Is that right? No, it's not. It's just the lights aren't on. Okay, so that is correct. That's the one that has the power on it. These ones don't, but for some reason these lights must be just a bit buggy. And that one should have power. Yeah, that's got power. That doesn't. That doesn't. That doesn't. Okay, so even though these indicator lights aren't correct, the power is still correct. The indicator lights here are correct. Okay. Good. I'm not going to go through the other ones here. I think we've probably demonstrated that this works enough there with that particular logic. But what we need to do now is we need to bring those signals back in and set up our triggers, because we don't want to be using this battery to change our configuration every time. We want that done by our laser triggers. So if we take a look at zone 3, and what I want to do is actually label each of these going from left to right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up to H, which was only one more letter. So we'll name each of these with a letter. So the ones that are active right now is E and H. So E and H are active. And what we need to figure out is on the other side of them, what do we want each one of those ones to do? So let's isolate just one of these. So what do we want to happen? What zone do we want to turn on when you break H? So this very first one right here on this side. What do we want to happen? Well, we want zone 3 to turn off, or to turn on, okay? Oh, no, wait, sorry. Zone 3 is active. What we want to happen is have zone 0. So this is effectively you exiting the base. When you cross over this one, zone 0 should activate. So H should activate zone 0. And the way I have this set up is that we've got 2 inputs. All we have to do is point that laser pointer to 0, 1, 2, or 3. All right, so let's do that now. We're going to go out here, and we're going to go this time up. And you know what, I'm going to go up a little bit more so we can get a nice, like, a whole bunch of lines coming across. Okay, so this is going to go across to here, and then up into here. Once we get all of this logic set up in here, which we'll worry about a little bit later, then it will make a lot more sense. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how we actually have this set up. That's correct. These just need to be coupled back in, so that sends that to there. Yes, yes, yes. What I'm going to do, because I want to make sure I get this right, I'm just going to check my logic over on this side and see how I had it set up. Okay, that's controller there, there, down. Yes, that goes there. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I think I do. I question myself sometimes. Yes, that's correct. We do want that to happen. It's because there's 8 different ones and we can make them do different things. All right. Let's go with our next one. So this laser here will be active when it's zone 0. So if zone 0 is active, that's the 2 outside lights are on, then this one here will be active. So what do we want to happen when you cross this one? We want zone 3 to turn on. So let's go into zone 3 with that one. There we go. Zone 3 is right here. 0, 1, 2, 3. Good. Because that needs to send a pulse to zone 3. All right. The next one, so this one here, if this one is turned on, that means that zone 2, 0, 1, 2, zone 2 is active. So what do we want to happen when that one turns on? So if you have to be in zone 2, that'll be on. So that means we also want that one to go to zone 3. So up and over and there and up. Cool. Okay, now this one here, this is only activated when you're in zone 3, and we want this one to turn to zone 2 when you cross over it. So this one will go to zone 2. Okay, so zone 2 is this one here. Good. All right, and we've got that one hooked up. And then this one here, if you're in zone 1, this one here will be turned on and will be active and available for tripping. And we want that also to go to zone 2. And up and all the way across. Go right there. Nice little kind of crossover look on those. Cool. Then this one, out, up. This one's going to go to zone 1 because if you were, if you were in, that will only be active if you're in zone 2. So if you cross over it, you want to switch to zone 1. So that goes across here. Let's get that lined up. Yeah, right about there. Looks nice. And up. Okay. And our next one here. So this laser here, this one is active if you're in zone 0. So if you're outside and then you go in to cross over, that's zone 0. So out, out, up, and across, right to about there and up. Good. And then the final one, so that one goes right down to the very last laser, and this is the very last laser on this side, needs to activate zone 0. So there, across, and let's get that lined up nicely, and up. Cool. Okay, so we've got all of our lasers now outputting correctly. So depending on what zone you're in, it's going to send a trigger down the line. So which ones do we have active at the moment? We've got this one here. So if we trip this one, it will activate. Oh wait, hold on. So we're in zone 3. This is going to go into zone 2. So zone 3 into zone 2. So it'll be this one. We'll work on this one first. All these not or bridges or switches, they just get connected directly into your switch here. And if you remember, this feels like a while ago now, we split these off at 5. So 5 got split off. They got divided by the different pieces here. So 5 going through, that shaves off 1, so we have 4 left to go in here, 4, and then 4 will end up going into here, which is going to take off 1, which gets divided by 2. So 1 goes out one side, 2 goes out the other side, because these, the lowest you can do is 2, and these don't cost anything. So that is fine. You don't need to actually configure these ones. We've already sort of planned ahead for that. All right, so if we're looking at zone 2, what we need to do is figure out how to get that pulse of energy to go to one of these 2 guys here. And the way that we're going to do that is we're actually going to set each one of these 1, 2, 3, 4 not OR switches directly into each one of these 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do it this way. This is going to be L. This is going to be R, also known as 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe if you were writing this down, it would be like Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's not quite the same as our 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3 zones. It's a different thing that we're doing here. But what we need to do is set up the pulse that's going to go out. So eventually, once we've set up the logic, a pulse from here will go up, down, and across into the left hand side. So that will activate, that will make this power go, our left on our little binary, 2-bit binary. This one will do the next one. So we go there, there, across here and up. Okay. Then this one is going to do the right hand one. There we go. And we'll go out there and up into the left hand position of this right hand memory cell. And then here and across here, down, there, and up. So the trick here is that when we cross one of these, we actually need to send out 2 pulses, because in some cases we may actually need to send out a pulse to an alternate we may need to change both of these. Like if we have a setup that was left, so zone 0, and then we go into zone 3, we need to change this one to right and this one to right. So you need a pulse on each of those to send out. I will mention that a lot of that flickering that was happening in my other base could probably be resolved by using, just sort of thinking out loud, maybe a timer. I'm not sure. I'll work on something about that one, but we do get a little bit of flickering when we're switching zones on this one. It might also be the distance of these. I haven't really tested all that out. All right, let's forget about that. Let's now figure out how we're going to change these. Now we got this zone 3 going into zone 2, so we want to work with this one because it's got power. So this switch here will activate zone 2, which is this one here. So what are the conditions that we need to set up to turn on zone 2? In the left box, we need it to be pointing right, and in the right hand box, we need it to be pointing left. So let's look at it again. So that's our left memory cell needs to be going out to the right, which means that we need to pulse this one here. And our right box needs to be going out to the left, which means we need to pulse this one here. And we set these up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 and 4. What did we say? Left and right. So yeah, that's left. And then to go right is that one. So yeah, 1, 2, 1. Sorry, we need, oh no, we're doing right, left. So we need 2 and 3, because we've numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 2 and 3. So that means we're going to be targeting here and here from this one here. So we send out one pulse directly up to there. And then we send another pulse to here. And that's it. That's that one laser light set up. Let's see if it works. Okay, so there it is there. And if we cross over there, and it didn't work. Okay, so we've got a little something missing here. That's sending a pulse into there. That's going in there. One power. Oh, of course, yeah. So it actually still needs. So that's branching off there. That's going there, so not or switch. Oh, you know why? I've done it off of the wrong one. I've done it off of 0, 1 instead of 1, 2. So if we do that same thing here, one out here, across and up, and then one out here and straight up. Ha! It worked. There we go. Look at that. And nothing else works after that because that was the only laser that was sending a pulse anywhere. But we can now do the next one. So A, B, C. So this is our laser C. It helps to plan, like writing all this stuff out as well. I've got sort of my notes in front of me, so I'm able to refer to those. Laser C. So this means that zone 0, 1, 2 is active. If we cross over laser C, we need zone 1 to become active. So zone 1 is LR. And if we do this right, so this one to L is 1 needs to be pulsed, and R, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 and 4 needs to be pulsed from here. So let's go here and there. And yes, up into there. Yeah, we're doing this right. 1 and 4. Okay, 1 and 4 is now set up. So if I cross over this one, it should go to zone 1. Okay, that worked. Except I've crossed over since I've got that other one active. We can see that switching over, that switches that one to there. And it's got a little bit of flickering, but it does actually work going back and forth. So let's do the last ones here. That switch there, that switch there. We're going to take a look at this one here. Or sorry, this one. So power source A. So we're on zone 1. If we cross over this one, then we want it to go to zone 0. So zone 0, that is this one here, 0. And our 0 setup is LL. So LL was 1, 2, 3. So 1 and 3. So we need this one to go from here into here, and this one to go into our third block here. That should be set up there, which means that by the power of deduction, we should be able to figure out that the last ones are just the whatever's remaining, and that's this one here. Now, if we've done this all correctly, that's everything set up. That's all the logic set up. Everything's going out across, and we should be able to... There we go. Okay, so this simulates being outside where both the first and the last light are on. We go across into zone 1. That turns on zone 1. We go into zone 2. That turns on zone 2. We go into zone 3. That goes into zone 3. And we go into zone 4. And that's worked, which is pretty cool. And it doesn't work if you run through it because it gets all messed up. But hey, it works. There's some practical applications for something like this as well. Like instead of this light right here, you might feed a line out into a control room or a safe room in your base and start, you know, labeling them. And you could actually tell, oh, there's someone in room 1. Uh-oh, they've moved into room 2. They're getting closer. They're getting a lot closer. So you could do some practical applications with this. Although this is a highly complicated setup for something that you would, for an application like that, you'd be better off just doing like a single sort of isolated setup for each room. Anyways, that's the whole setup there. It all works. Thank you for sticking around. I know that was a bit of a long one, but there's a fair amount of logic that was involved in that, and I think it was probably worthwhile to go through each step by step, mistakes and all. I apologize, but yeah, I'll as long as I'm interested in making these videos, I'll keep on doing them. But thanks for sticking around. See ya.